With the presidential election just over 4 weeks away, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton faced off Sunday night at Washington University in St. Louis in what Politico described as the ugliest debate in U.S. history. The debate came 2 days after the Washington Post published a shocking video from 2005 of Donald Trump talking on an open microphone, bragging about sexually assaulting women. Trump is now facing a growing number of calls to step down as the Republican Party's nominee. We will spend the rest of the show airing excerpts of Sunday's debate and giving Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein a chance to respond to the same questions posed to the major party candidates. Stein and Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson were excluded from the debate under stringent rules set by the Commission on Presidential Debates, which is controlled by the Democratic and Republican parties. We invited both Stein and Johnson to join us on the program, only Stein took us up on the offer. We turn now to the debate moderators Anderson Cooper and Martha Raddatz in St. Louis at Washington University. Raddatz of ABC, Anderson Cooper of CNN. This is Cooper.
We have a question here from Ken Karpowitz. He has a question about health care. Ken?
I'd like to know, Anderson, why aren't you bringing up the emails? I'd like to know. Why aren't you getting
brought up
to
the emails.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And it hasn't been finished at all.
Ken Karpowitz has a question.
It's nice to 1 on 3.
Thank you. Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, it is not affordable. Premiums have gone up, deductibles have gone up, co-pays have gone up, prescriptions have gone up, and the coverage has gone down. What will you do to bring the costs down and make coverage better?
That first one goes to Secretary Clinton because you started out the last one to the audience.
If he wants to start, he can start.
Go ahead, Hillary.
No, go ahead, Donald.
No, I'm a gentleman, Hillary. Go ahead.
Secretary Clinton?
Well, I think Donald was about to say he's going to solve it by repealing it and getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I'm going to fix it because I agree with you. Premiums have gotten too high, co-pays, deductibles, prescription drug costs, and I've laid out a series of actions that we can take to try to get those costs down. But here's what I don't want people to forget when we're talking about reining in the costs, which has to be the highest priority of the next president. When the Affordable Care Act passed, it wasn't just that 20 million people got insurance who didn't have it before, but that in and of itself was a good thing. I meet these people all the time, and they tell me what a difference having that insurance meant to them and their families. But everybody else, the 170 million of us who get health insurance through our employers, got big benefits. Number one, insurance companies can't deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition. Number two, no lifetime limits, which is a big deal if you have serious health problems. Number three, women can't be charged more than men for our health insurance, which is the way it used to be before the Affordable Care Act. Number four, if you're under 26 and your parents have a policy, you can be on that policy until the age of 26, something that didn't happen before. So I want very much to save what works and is good about the Affordable Care Act. But we've got to get costs down. We've got to provide some additional help to small businesses so that they can afford to provide health insurance. But if we repeal it, as Donald has proposed, and start over again, all of those benefits I just mentioned are lost to everybody, not just people who get their health insurance on the exchange. And then we would have to start all over again. Right now, we are at 90% health insurance coverage. That's the highest we've ever been in our country.
Secretary Clinton,
so I want us to get to 100%, but get costs down and keep quality up.
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
It is such a great question, and it's maybe the question I get almost more than anything else outside of defense. Obamacare is a disaster. You know it. We all know it. It's going up at numbers that nobody's ever seen worldwide. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this for health care. It's only getting worse. In 17, it implodes by itself. Their method of fixing it is to go back and ask Congress for more money, more and more money. And we have right now almost $20 trillion in debt. Obamacare will never work. It's very bad health insurance. far too expensive, and not only expensive for the person that has it, unbelievably expensive for our country. It's going to be one of the biggest line items very shortly. We have to repeal it and replace it with something absolutely much less expensive and something that works, where your plan can actually be tailored. We have to get rid of the lines around the state, artificial lines, where we stop insurance companies from coming in and competing because they wanted, President Obama and whoever was working on it, they want to leave those lines because that gives the insurance companies essentially monopolies. We want competition. You will have the finest health care plan there is. She wants to go to a single-payer plan, which would be a disaster, somewhat similar to Canada. And if you ever notice, the Canadians, when they need a big operation, when something happens, they come into the United States in many cases because their system is so slow. It's catastrophic in certain ways. But she wants to go to single-payer, which means the government basically rules everything. Hillary Clinton has been after this for years. Obamacare was the first step. Obamacare is a total disaster. And not only are your rates going up by numbers that nobody's ever believed, but your deductibles are going up. So that unless you get hit by a truck, you're never going to be able to use it.
Mr. Trump,
it is a disastrous plan, and it has to be repealed and replaced.
Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein, your response.
It's not rocket science how to fix this disaster that the Affordable Care Act is. In fact, health care costs are skyrocketing. It's now, we pay essentially $3 trillion a year is what the price tag is for health care when you include government, business, and out-of-pocket expenses. 1 out of every 3 Americans now cannot afford health care. Yes, the numbers of coverage have gone up, but there is massive underinsurance, and it is prohibitive. The premiums and the deductibles and the copays are just too high, so many people with insurance cannot afford to get it. There is almost $500 billion of needless expense in the Affordable Care Act. This was the boondoggle built in for insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies, that they are making out like bandits here in a healthcare system based on profit, not based on people. And the solution is pretty straightforward. We need a Medicare for All system, an improved Medicare for All system. Right now, 25% of healthcare costs are spent on wasteful paper pushing, on CEO salaries, on advertising, et cetera, on exorbitant pharmaceutical costs like paying $400 for an EpiPen, which contains $1 worth of medication. This is the kind of abuse that is built into this program because we do not have the capacity to negotiate and do bulk purchasing, which needs to be built in. Under an improved Medicare for All system, that 25% overhead is reduced to about 1%, 1 to 2% overhead. So it enables us to put our healthcare dollars truly into healthcare so that you are covered head to toe, cradle to grave. Your mental health, your pharmaceuticals, your hearing aid, your insulin pump, whatever, and your reproductive health care and your mental health care. And the health care decisions are between you and your doctor. It gets corporations off your back, and it gets CEOs out of the business of deciding and micromanaging your health care.
Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein. After a short break, we'll return to the Donald Trump-Hillary Clinton presidential debate and give Dr. Stein a chance to respond to those same questions posed to the major party candidates at Washington University in St. Louis. Stay with us.